Right, hi guys. I'm on some salt marshes at the moment, and I've got a bit of a project going. I'm going to have a bit of a project going for this sort of autumn and winter, and I really want to get some good shots of curlews. And curlews are like a really quite a big wading bird, and they've got a really long sort of curved beak, and they're fantastic waders. And they're not super rare, but there's not a huge amount of curlews around. So here in Essex we do get quite a few curlews on the sort of mud flats and in the salt marshes, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm set up right on the salt marshes, quite low, and I've got my lens trained on a channel that it's leading off into the salt marshes. So I'm hoping we're going to get some curlews or other waders, whatever turns up, around these channels. Now I'm here it's about 2.5 hours before high tide, so I'm in position, and I'm hoping as the water levels rise it's going to push the waders closer to me. Now this is not obviously your normal sort of mud flats where you're going to get a big congregation, a big sort of group of waders, but what I'm hoping is I'm going to get waders come down this channel. So it's a bit of a gamble, to be honest. It could, you know, be a really good place. I've seen curlews here before, so I'm not just taking a chance. So I could get some really great shots, and I'm hoping to get some really close shots of curlews and other waders, but I also could strike out because it's a bit of a risky sort of location, this one. So we'll see what happens. I've got my 200 to 500 millimeter zoom, and the reason I've brought that is because I want the ability to reframe the shot, because once I'm in position and I've finished vlogging, there's a wader just go. Can you hear that? It's just going past. It's just gone down in one of those little channels. I think that was a red shank. So once I'm in position, I can't move, because I will definitely scare these birds away, because they're really sort of quite nervous animals. So I've got my camera on a tripod. I've got my 200 to 500 millimeter zoom lens, so I can reframe the shot if they come closer. I've got my poncho that's going to keep me camouflaged, and everything like my bag at the back there and my flask, and that's all going to go under the poncho, so that hopefully there's nothing sort of apart from me and camo here that's different, and there's nothing to sort of make the birds nervous. I'm shooting on around about 1,000th of a second, and the light's sort of at the moment behind a bank of cloud, but there's a big gap underneath that bank. So what I'm hoping is by the time we get to high tide, that cloud will have cleared and we get some good light as well. So fingers crossed. I can just see a little egret over there as well, just flying in. So yeah, there's lots of wildlife around here. Whether I get any good shots today, I don't know, but this is going to be sort of a autumn stroke winter project, so I'm going to just keep coming back. I won't, you know, always come to this spot. If this doesn't turn out to be as good as I hope, then there's loads of other areas along this coastline that I can try. But we've got mud flats which the waders love to feed on, and then we've got these channels which are muddy channels, so I'm hoping that they'll be coming down these channels right into my lens. So we'll see, fingers crossed. So I'm going to say bye for now. If I don't get anything today, that's okay, because wildlife photography is like that. You have to sort of, you know, be persistent, and I might need to have many attempts to get these pictures, but you know, fingers crossed. I'm quite low. If I need to, I've got my mat with me so I can lay on the ground as well, but at the moment I think this is okay because the salt marshes are actually quite high. The channels through them are a bit lower, but fingers crossed that'll be okay. So looking forward to this, and I'll speak to you soon. Whether I speak to you next time and I've got the shots is, you know, in the lap of the gods, so we'll see what happens. So bye for now, guys. Hi guys, this is day 2 of my project to photograph curlews. So these fantastic sort of medium-sized wading birds with the big, long, sort of curved bills. And I'm at the same spot as I was on the previous clip, but I've taken a slightly different approach, because before I was hoping to get curlews sort of feeding in the mud along the channels, but you know, on sort of reflection or thinking about it, that was the wrong approach actually, and so it's my fault, to be honest, because those channels, as soon as the sun starts to drop, they're in the shade, and I'm not going to have very good light on the animals in the channels. So I'm going to try and get shots of these waders feeding in the mud flats, but I'm going to go down the coast and work on a flatter area. So I'm going to lay down on my mat, put my camo over me, stay really close to the ground, and hopefully I'll have good light on the curlews or any other waders that I'm photographing. But here I noticed that we were getting lots of waders fly over, because this bit sort of juts out into the estuary almost, so it's like a sort of a little triangle of land, and it's a really good spot for waders to fly over. So I want to get some great shots of as many waders species as I can, but particularly curlews in flight, as well as them sort of feeding in the mud. So this is an ideal spot for that, and I've been here for about a couple of hours this afternoon, and again I picked a time when the tide's rising. So what would happen is all these sort of wading birds get forced off the mud, and then they fly off and find areas to sort of roost up for a little while. And I've had probably 3 or 4 curlews fly over. Yesterday I had a couple fly over, but the light wasn't great, and so I've got a few okay shots of curlews in flight yesterday, but today better. It's still not perfect, I still can do better, and I will, you know, come back and do it again, because the light was much better this afternoon, but still a bit muted. So I've got hazy sunshine. The sun's going behind cloud now, and it's gone completely. So that's why I'm doing this bit to camera now, because I didn't want to waste any time, because these curlews are not that they're not that common. So you only get 3 or 4 if you're lucky fly over in an afternoon. So I've had 3 or 4 flyovers, and I've got some really decent shots. Now, as I say, they're not perfect because the light was a bit muted and it was getting a bit low, so I was on ISO 1600 at the time, so there'll be a little bit of noise, hopefully not too much, but there'll be a little bit of noise. But they're my best curlew shots in flight ever, so that's a real result. But this just goes to show, it's when it comes to wildlife photography, it's about knowing about your subject, but also learning about those locations as much as you can. And the more knowledge you've got, the more successful you're going to be. And as I say, I've had to adjust my approach on this part of the location, because it works better for flight shots than it does for sort of shots of them sort of on the ground feeding. And for the feeding shots, I'll need to pick a different area. But you know, that's great. The more I learn about this location, the better my wildlife pictures are going to be. And I think that's really important. So you need to know about the behaviour of the animal. And the more you know about the behaviour of the animal, the better those pictures are going to be. But also, the more you know about the location, again, the better. And the better chance you've got of getting good shots. So we want to increase our success rate when we're out, and by learning about your local locations and environments, and also about your local wildlife, then I think you know, the times you're going to get good shots, the success rate is going to go up. So again, I'm going to say bye for now. The light's going, so I'm going to pack up, have a wander home, and I will be back here again in the next few days, hopefully, as soon as the light's good. Next time I think I'm going to look for a spot so I can get down onto the mud flats, but I'll also be looking for better flight shots. But I can only do one or the other, because I get this couple of hours before high tide. So I'm either here or I'm on the mud flats. I can't do both in the same day. So you have to make a choice. And you're always thinking, have I made the right choice? You know, is there a great shot down there on the mud flats that I'm missing because I'm here, or vice versa? And I think that's a real dilemma with wildlife photography. But you have to make a choice, and you've got to stick with it. There's no point in doing, you know, an hour here and an hour down there. I've got to do, you know, the couple of hours here to give me my best chance of getting the shots in this part of the location, and next time I'll go somewhere else. So bye for now, guys, and I'll speak to you on the next instalment of trying to get great shots of curlews. Hi guys, I'm on the banks of this river estuary and I'm on my curlew project again, and it's about, I don't know, an hour and a half before high tide, so I'm going to put a poncho on in a minute and get myself camouflaged up, but I'm in position and I'm behind some reed beds as well, or some grasses, so that should keep me a little bit protected as well, and hopefully they won't notice me. And then as the tide pushes them closer to the bank, I should hopefully get some good shots. I've already got some pictures of a red shank in some lovely light, because it's only about 40 minutes after sunrise at the moment, so it's really good. Now, if I don't get any great shots today, I'm coming back. This is sort of a long-term project, but it's the conditions are perfect. I've got lovely low sunlight, the sun's shining this way, so I'm going to be shooting any animals, or photographing any animals that are coming towards me from my right hand side, so the light's on them, so that should be really good as well. I've got my 200 to 500mm zoom, because again, I'm in a fixed position here, so if they come really close, I want the ability to be able to zoom out a bit. If I've got my 600mm prime, I'm stuck on that, you know, one focal length, and if they come closer, I'm not going to get the shot, so it's a compromise, you know. What I lose in one stop of light, this is an f5.6 lens and my prime is an f4 lens, I gain in flexibility when it comes to framing, and the prime is a little bit faster autofocus and a little bit sharper, but this is a really sharp lens anyway, and the autofocus is pretty good. So, you know, I'm going to compromise in a couple of areas, AF speed and a tiny little bit of sharpness, but I'm also going to get more shots because I'm going to be able to change my framing because I'm in this fixed position. So yeah, I'm going to shut up now, because if I keep talking, nothing's going to come close to me. So I'm in position more than early enough in terms of times. So I'm waiting for the tide to push him in anyway, so I thought I'd do this quick bit to camera. But as I say, I've already got a red shank picture, which is great. Got some great shots of a red shank, which is a small wading bird, but what I really want today is the curlews. So I'll speak to you soon, guys. Right guys, I'll have to be quiet now because the tide is pushing in and the waders are coming in. There's loads. I've got oyster catchers, I've got red shanks, there's brink geese right out there. I can see curlews. Don't know if I'm going to get any today because they're a lot scarcer than some of the other waders, but this is all looking good. I've got the camo on, as you can see. I'm sitting on the bank here, and we're just going to wait and see how close these guys get pushed in, but it's looking good. I think the plan's working. The only trouble is the sun's just gone behind a cloud, so I've got soft light now, really, and I really wanted that sort of direct sunlight. But as I say, this is an ongoing project, so if I don't get the shots I want today, then it's all a learning curve, because I'm learning about this location as well, and the best places to go, and the best spots, and at the best tide times. So it's all good. Yeah, so look, I'll speak to you soon, guys. Hi guys, I've had a fantastic morning. It's really worked out to plan actually. So as you saw, I got myself in position as the tide was coming in, and that did push the waders towards me. It's been really good. Now I've got my curlew shot, which is great. I only got one picture of the curlew. It landed, it stood there and flew off, but the light was good and I'm really pleased with that shot. I've also got pictures of red shanks, which are again these little small wading birds, turnstones, oyster catcher, and I think a lapwing as well. So yeah, it's been brilliant. The plan worked, so I was in position, waiting for the tide to push those waders close to me, and that's what it did. I did have a long lens on though, because even though the tide was pushing them towards me, they're still quite wary. And as I say, I had the camo on as well, and that helped. But it's been great. The light's been brilliant. The plans work. Now I would like to get some more curlew shots, but I've got some great curlew shots, curlews in flight, so I'm really pleased with those. And I've got one curlew shot of it just standing there in good light with that big long curved beak. So all in all, it's been brilliant. Now the tide's fully in now, so there's no point in me hanging around the coastal bit anymore, so I'm going to walk further into the reserve and see what else I can find. But if I don't see anything else now, the shot is in the bag, or the shots are in the bag, and I'm really pleased with what I've got today. And again, it's all down to that pre-planning, knowing how the wildlife's going to behave. So with waders, you know they're going to be pushed towards the shore as the tide comes in, and knowing the sort of areas where they like to feed. So as I say, curlews, they've got these big long beaks, and they feed in the sort of the muddy estuary. It's the same with the red shanks. They've got shorter beaks and they feed on different things, and the lapwings as well. So you know, all these animals have got their own little niches, but that's why they can all sort of feed in the same areas, and they're not competing for the same sort of food. So it's been a really great morning. The light's been brilliant, and as I say, there's no point in sticking around the coast anymore, because the tide's in and the waders will be sort of not feeding anymore. They'll be roosting up somewhere. So as I say, I'm going to wander back into the reserve, see if I can spot the kingfisher, which is unlikely, but you never know. But it's been a great morning. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have enjoyed it, if you can consider subscribing. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, that would be brilliant. And if you do subscribe, press the little bell icon, and then you'll be notified when my next video is uploaded. And you know, if you have liked this video, if you can give it a like, that would be brilliant, because it always helps my channel. So yeah, I'd like to say thanks for watching, guys. It's been a cracking morning. I'm going to, as I say, wander into the reserve for another hour or so, and then head for home for lunch. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now. On my way back to the car park, I was walking along this footpath, and I had the salt marshes on my left hand side and this inland sort of strip of water on the right hand side. And as I was walking up, I saw this little egret, and it was standing on a branch, and it was just there. So I moved ever so slowly, and I took a few pictures, then moved forward a few feet, took a few more pictures, and then moved forward a few more feet, and all the while not looking at the egret. So I was sort of making a very cautious approach, because I obviously didn't want to scare it off. And I got some really great shots, and it's the first time I've got pictures of a little egret like that standing sort of, you know, on a branch looking out the frame. So it was just a nice little bonus from a fairly perfect morning. And after 4 or 5 minutes, I suppose, some dog walkers come up the other way from the footpath, and the little egret took off into the distance. But yeah, it was a great way to round off the morning.